to run this. She's way more technically savvy than I am. I'm kind of like switching knobs kind of guy. I didn't turn the audio on. Switching knobs. Oh yeah, it's picking up. Something didn't turn the audio on. Is that me? Oh, it wasn't me. Okay, now is it good?
I thought your lips aren't moving and I can hear it. My headset.
Magic.
You have a number for Bob or?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Do I do? Oopsie.
Oh, there he is, the back.
You think it would let you share my screen? I don't know.
No.
I don't think no, it won't, it'll let me pick stuff, share. Can you see if I can share my screen?
Your co-host, you should be able to.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna, let's see. It's not letting me share my screen. Lisa, do you know if I can share my screen on an iPad? I can share my iCloud drive, camera and photos, but it's not giving me an option to share my screen. Yeah, I looked at more.
You have that.
Yeah.
And not.
Yeah, I had it open.
Sure.
Oh, thump at the door.
I don't know why it closed. Oh, I wonder if now if it'll,
All right.
yeah, see.
You're our forum, so we were waiting. Okay, are we ready, Internet?
No, I wonder if you can open it in this.
Okay, so let's call this meeting of the Fraser Planning Commission to order, please, with a roll call.
Margaret Bowles.
Katie Souls.
Bob Ganesi.
Andy Miller. And the consent agenda, or I'm sorry, call for an approval of the agenda.
So moved. What is it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. So the consent agenda tonight is just the minutes from the November 12th meeting, back before the holidays. So I have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so open forum tonight. So Clark, you're still practicing, but does anybody need the podium for open forum?
We're right out of here. No problem.
Looks like anybody online at all, Internet? Okay. So nobody for open forum. We'll move to public hearing and possible action for Grand Park West Mountain Filing Number 1. Final plat.
And Alan will be leading the presentation.
Okay.
Okay, Alan, you could
You want this
pull your
one,
mic
Alan? Or
closer.
are you gonna stay sitting now?
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, and it wasn't on, that's why. Okay, good evening, Planning Commission. I'm Alan Seeloff, Assistant Planner. Tonight I'll be presenting a revised final plat and final development plan for the Grand Park West Mountain Filing 1, covering planning areas 10W and 11W. So the just basics overview, the applicant, property owner, West Mountain Development, as it's now known for the West Mountain area, located north and west of Union Pacific Railroad, along a proposed extension of Grand Park Drive. The existing approval and proposed land use is 79 single-family residences. Again, it's zoned PD in the Grand Park Planned Development Area. And the request is to maintain the existing approval of 79 lots, but included as revisions to the previously approved street and lot layout. So since it's a revision requiring a major amendment, which is dictated by the major amendment or allowances for minor amendments, which this isn't included. So the major amendments, which specifically states lots and block reorientation. This is required to go to a public hearing. So we noticed it, all noticing requirements for a public hearing, including notice in the Middle Park Times. The applicant did mailed property notices, and affidavits and mailing receipts are included in the planning commission packet. So being that this is now the third time before the planning commission, just a brief summary of kind of the timeline here. As always, going back to 2005 when the original Grand Park development plan was approved. This specific filing, the first filing of West Mountain, first came forward in March of 2023. It was approved as a preliminary plat at that time and a final development plan by the planning commission. In summer, May, June of 2024, the final plat and the FPDP was then approved by the Planning Commission and the Board of Trustees. About 6 months later, the first revision was brought forward to the Planning Commission and Board of Trustees. This revision increased the original approval from 72 lots to 79 lots. And then the proposal today, maintaining that 79 lots, but reorienting some of the subdivision layout. So here's the general location on West Mountain. This is a vicinity map provided on the FPDP. It includes both existing and proposed development. So that's what a lot of the lot lines and road network to the west, to the left side here in West Mountain is showing is the future preliminary plans for the future development, and then existing development to the right here along the railroad and Highway 40. A little bit of additional locational context here. Here is the filing one area, kind of superimposed over an existing aerial. Aerial's maybe about 1.5 years old now, but Grand Park Drive branching up from US 40 past Old Victory Road, and the railroad is proposed to continue to the southwest into West Mountain. Filing one, and as the first development, will be along the west side of Grand Park Drive. And then as kind of we'll be seeing in some additional documentation, we're starting to see some additional context of the future filings of West Mountain to be able to kind of place this in the larger picture of what's proposed. So detailing some of the specifics of the changes on the left side here, we have the most recent approval from January 2025. It includes 2 main access points off Grand Park Drive with, oh, I didn't do that. Let's go back. 2 main access points. The main one being Pinewood Road at the time, being the first road connection, and then a smaller access point on Compass Drive at the far end of the filing. The proposed layout is adding basically a third connection and relocating the main through connection. So what was Pinewood Road is now known as Overlook Drive, and it's a smaller connection just into the immediate neighborhood. And then the second connection is going to include a roundabout or a traffic circle to connect through filing one onto filing two and future development. And just as a reminder, the Planning Commission did actually see sketch plan for filing 2 area in April of 2025 last year. So this is this redesign is based in part on kind of more detailed design work going on in filing 2, which has since been submitted and is under review, but hasn't been brought to the Planning Commission yet. So again, this is the code language requiring the approval for an FPDP. In every other way, it would have qualified as a minor amendment, but included in the language for major FPDP amendments is this inclusion of rearrangement of lots, blocks, and building tracks. This slide is showing the land use plan, kind of delineating the development portions between the planning areas now proposed. Some of the key differences with the previous filing one approval is there's now, before there was two 10W portions, 10W.1 and .2. That's been consolidated into a single 10W.1. And then portions of 23W have been added into this filing. Just to note that this generally consistent with this area of 23W was included in the sketch plan for filing two. It kind of wrapped around filing one. So this is just kind of redistributing it into this filing to make it a more regular shaped FPDP area since it's immediately adjacent to it. 23W is showing that it's including Grand Park Drive and Outpost Club Drive. This is consistent with major roadways in the Grand Park PD road master plan and how previous FPDPs for Grand Park have allocated the space dedicated to the major roadways. And then here, these highlighted areas are just highlighting the final development proposal. So again, it's 38 units for 10W1 and 41 for 11W. That totals to 79. And then the acreages have been slightly adjusted to, and going back and comparing kind of the previous submittals, the acreage of the 10W and 11W planning areas has increased slightly by about 3 acres, but it looks like it was about a 3-acre decrease previously between the original approval and the first revision. So the resulting acreage in this proposal is roughly consistent with what was originally approved back in June 2024. And then here's the 16.7 acres is being allocated towards 23W through this. Just some additional context here. So the image on the left is the overall planning areas from the Grand Park PD. Again, the filing one area and the planning areas weren't a perfect match. They weren't originally a perfect match, but they're generally in the vicinity and no major changes to that's occurring here. And then on the right side here, now that we have additional info, this was included in the final plat for filing one, but just outside of it, you can see the ultimate build out of final filing two for the full kind of 10W, 9W, 10W, and 11W area, and see how the reoriented road networks or road connections connect through and ultimately up into the filing two area, which is proposed to consist of more substantial kind of mixed use commercial lodging and the outpost clubhouse building that we previously discussed during the sketch plan for this. Some additional studies underway. So the image on the left is just a kind of overall image of the water master plan. This was discussed previously with the previous revision in 2025 in January, that the water master plan is still under review and it was included as a condition of approval. We're carrying that forward because the water master plan hasn't been fully approved yet. In fact, it was also resubmitted just this month in January to account for design updates for West Mountain as the rest of the kind of the mountain's infrastructure are getting planned out. So that is still under review and staff is recommending that condition of approval be carried forward as it's still applicable. And then the image on the right is an image from the traffic impact study that was also submitted in January of this year, 2026. Apologies if I misspoke previously. The traffic impact study wasn't previously identified for filing one on account of the relatively low unit numbers being proposed, but starting with filing two, more substantial traffic analysis was requested and required. That's now been submitted and is under review with filing two, but we wanted to provide it here for context. It's one of the items in the planning commission packet tonight, just to help justify why the traffic circle was introduced, the additional space needed in some of the intersections that were being moved around. So it impacts filing one, but ultimately filing one isn't reliant on it. So we're not recommending that be included as a condition of approval. So all that to say is generally, again, the resolution is included in the packet, but we're carrying forward all the same conditions of approval. They relate to addressing referral comments, receiving approval of the West Mountain Water Master Plan, and specifying that that's to be done before the FPDP or any phase the final plat is recorded, and then the additional standard requirements in terms of executing a DIA, finalizing addressing, and recording HOA documents. The next steps would be, should this be recommended for approval, it'll be going to the Board of Trustees February 18th next month. And as I mentioned before, the FPDP and preliminary plat have been submitted and are currently under review for filing two. So that will be coming before the Planning Commission in the coming months. And then we're tracking the Water Master Plan and the traffic impact study. So we should have more updates and be able to speak to that more specifically with the filing two application once that comes forward. So that concludes my presentation, relatively brief, but happy to answer any questions. And I know the applicant also has a few words to speak on this.
Any initial comments from the board at all, or over here the presentation?
I like the improvements they made to the road system.
Yeah.
Seems a little better.
I like
yeah.
the roundabout.
Yeah. And remind me, does Parks and Wildlife Review, are they a review agency or? Okay,
They, excuse me, they are typically they just provide a standard kind of list of comments that are more guidelines and suggestions than anything else, I would say. I'm not sure if they responded to this referral
Yeah.
specifically.
Frankly, I don't think we included them on this one as a relatively minor amendment. I can double check, but what we generally do is include all the agencies on the initial referral, and then if there's outstanding comments, we'll include them in the remaining submittals. And then if there was a revision that I guess that we determined would impact them, we would have referred it back out to them. So maybe once I stop sharing my screen, I could pull up the email and see if they were included in this referral, but I don't believe I did.
yeah, I think as we move over to West Mountain, we're talking a bit more about wildlife
Right.
and a whole new area to be.
They definitely were on the filing too, and of course
they
would be
were.
in all the
Okay.
other
Okay.
submittals.
Go ahead, Clark, if you would.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Third time's a charm, I guess, right? So this is a minor amendment. We were requested, and I just want to clarify the traffic study they have. It's not, we already have traffic studies approved for all of Grand Park. That's part of the PDD process. And why you do a PDD, right? To do all this kind of master studies up front. We had a request that was clarified and scoped very detailed wise with Garrett to do some intersection studies. And then, and I think frankly, it yielded a good result here with the Outpost Club Drive. We have this club idea, and as we've studied the club more, and what it's going to entail, and then we have a hotel next to the club. Generally, we basically created kind of a boulevard, right, and a roundabout that is to me, a way better location than the old route, which is still there, but won't be a primary route to get to the club. So I think that was the driver of this amendment that we're bringing forth to you all, and it is a good enhancement. The one thing I would like to clarify, we do have an approval letter from Merrick dated November 12th, 2024 on the master water submittal. So I'll give you that. I would think you have that, but it's made out to Michael Brack. But that was our fourth submittal. There's been some revisions and edits to that, but we did address that requirement by the town board previously. I'd also like to point out that the annexation agreement doesn't require approval to record FPDPs and record final plats. Rather, it requires submittal. And because once again, remember a PDD, there's mass amounts of study and engineering done on the front end. There's actually master water and master sewer plans in the PDD as recorded pages. So now what we do is we refine those as we move forward with the project. And so the submittal that was just made on the 9th takes into account the new road alignment that we adjusted. And of course, you know, it's not a big deal to me. I just want to make the point that that has been approved. It's only required to be submitted per the annexation agreement that I have here. And I would prefer it not to be a condition, but they only have 30 days to review under the annexation agreement for master water related items. So, I mean, we're only talking about 2 weeks, so probably approved before we might even get to town board, I would hope. So, because it was pretty minor, it's just relocating some stuff. And one of the things that evolved out of that too is we worked diligently with the fire department in the town on tanks and tank designs, the water tanks. And I think have arrived at a very robust water tank system that is favorable to the fire department and should be beneficial to Fraser in terms of operations and operational efficiency. So 2 tanks instead of 3, but you know, a lot of fire storage. So I feel really good about that. And we rounded up on some tanks because I think it's more efficient to build the same size tank twice than, you know, design it once. And so we have 2 500,000 gallon tanks that'll be going in.
Where are the
It's a
tanks,
system.
Clark?
What's that?
Where will the tanks be?
Well, they go up the mountain. There's different zones, Andy. So, like in Rendezvous, for instance, I built the yellow zone tank. The town actually built the green zone tank. We paid for it, but that's kind of how it worked. The initial tank that was ever built, the town did it. So we have a green zone tank and a red zone tank. The red zone tank is up near our Forest Service boundary at the top. It's very top of the property. Okay.
And those are going in as part of this subdivision or?
No,
Okay.
no,
that's the-
they're just, yeah,
that's the
that's
plan.
the master water plan. The master water infrastructure is planned to get installed imminently. We just need final construction drawings and it's all being bid out, but you know, it's miles of pipe and it's
Yeah.
big infrastructure. The tank, there's a pump station for this one because there's some significant capacity in our current system. So there's a pump station in this one that would feed off the yellow zone tank that I built in Rendezvous that has excess capacity. Part of this is in the yellow zone, part of it's in the green zone, I think. So it's kind of a crossover. The pump addresses that. And then there's the first tank that'll be getting built. I'd like to build them concurrently. Is the blue zone, not the blue zone's Fraser zone, sorry, the green zone tank. So got too many colors because Rendezvous, you know, kind of the sides, you know, picture a valley, right? And we've got pressure zones are at the same exact elevation, both sides of the valley,
Right.
right? And they cross over. So, but anyway, your staff's been very involved and that's proceeding and moving along. And the only thing I think on the traffic study that I just wanted to make a point of is that it's just it's not a full-blown traffic study. It's the scope that we narrowed it down to. It's still very extensive, includes transportation analysis and a number of other factors that were asked for by the staff that I was happy to accommodate. But the predominant thing that came out of it is this roundabout and boulevard of a main Collector Road, remind me, Collector Road, I think, going out to the clubhouse and the hotel site, which I do think is a big improvement. That's what's driven this change. Okay. So pretty straightforward otherwise.
So there was some discussion of the trail that appeared on the original documents along the railroad tracks. Is there, and I know you've looked at that in the past, I think, Clark, is that coming any closer to possibility or?
Well, so I don't see a trail on the recorded PDD. I know that's been a comment and we've addressed that comment a number of times with staff. And the trails that we built and provided, Andy, or are being provided are, so we've addressed this in staff comments and responses previously, but we have the public trails are specifically outlined in the annexation agreement. They're actually specified. And so far, we have, it's section 10.5 of the annexation agreement, by the way, if you would like to look at that. And we have done the Leland Creek Trail, the US 40 Trail. The Grand Park Drive is partially completed. Obviously, it does go all the way through. You just have to go through the Willows. Sorry, not on Grand Park, Old Victory Road. The Old Victory Road Trail is partially completed, but it does connect through the Willows subdivision. So when that little road segment that's not built now is finished, then that 8-foot wide public trail that the town will maintain goes through. And then Grand Park Drive is partially completed from the highway to our gate on the West Mountain. And it'll be extended with this project up Grand Park Drive. It's in the design drawings. It'll be extended up to the Outpost Club roundabout, I think, in the construction drawings. So kind of sequentially as we build that main arterial road connection, which is where the public trails are required, those trails get added. Secondly, I'd like to point out that there's some really awkward topography right there next to the railroad tracks. That's not conducive to a trail. There is a trail on the other side of the tracks. That's a pretty good trail. I was actually going to replace it on the east side of the tracks, but why replace it? Because it's pretty heavily used. And somebody magically did help clean up some of it, so it's even more usable. But I think the other component is we've got a golf driving range now playing off of like kind of the 9W-ish area near the hotel that plays down to the railroad, the driving range. And then you've got golf holes. There's a few golf holes that are right next to the railroad down in the very bottom in a great big pond that is part of the water system for the golf course. And golf and trails generally don't work well together,
No,
right? So I mean, kind of when you consider all the factors, my response to that comment is, you know, we're going to put trails where they're required. We'll have other trails. I know we'll have other trails. You know, will they be public and maintained by Fraser? I think that's yet to be determined.
So do you think is there any opportunity on the east side to get the trail out of the right of way, the railroad
Oh,
right
yeah.
of way? Or
No, I designed a really cool trail with, help me out,
Elliot? Yeah,
Elliot. Yeah, Elliot and I walked it and laid out a really cool trail, from, County Road 72, using the Elk Creek Conservation Easement corridor that I had granted and kind of running along. We had a few creek crossings. It was pretty cool. And then went up and over Cousins Point. So we had some switchbacks there and then ran in that large, it's part of 23W, but the large area between Grand Park Drive and the railroad, you know, where we brought the grade down. And the cost was quite substantial. Could have been, you know, it could have been cool, but then at the same token, we're like, does it benefit anything? Like when you already have an existing trail that's heavily used, that's literally like right next to it pretty much, what's the point? Right, and
what do you mean, or,
it was expensive to build.
yeah,
It was going to be single track. It was
Right.
going to be like a single track hiking and biking trail.
yeah,
But instead we opted to say, well, let's help clean up some of the stuff blocking the other trail and,
yeah. The trouble with
kinda
that
let
one
it
is, of
keep-
course, it's in the railroad right away, and
but
Yeah.
you know, should it ever become an issue, you know, I think there's always an option there. We just need to figure out who's going to build that and pay for it because it was expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's expensive. It's amazing how much it costs to build trails. But Elliot, I think, has done a really good job on a lot of the trails around here.
yeah.
I did that like 3 years ago.
But there are grant monies available, and it'd be-
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if it's something the town wanted to pursue, I would support that. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it could be really cool. I just, you know, for us economically, didn't make sense for our HOA to do it. Doesn't make sense for me to do it.
yeah,
And, you know, Elliot would probably love to do it. You know, granted, he's pretty booked out, so just
Okay.
one of those things, but it could have been really cool. It was going to connect up with at the underpass trail, the trail that we put in under the railroad underpass
hmm
is where it connected. Right, so,
And then, one of the trail question, there's a really nice trail on Leland Creek down below your project here.
yeah, I built that
Yeah.
trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some connect, maybe a connection or two between this and to make it a little bit more user friendly to get over onto that trail with going all the way down to King's Crossing and back up again. just a
What do you mean?
thought, so.
Andy, there's a connection right there. I'm
Is
not
it?
sure what you're
Okay.
talking about.
Is
We
it?
got a
Okay.
great connection.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, when you go under the underpass.
Yeah.
Well, right there, but I mean, when you're farther up the hill,
Oh, you're
Yeah.
talking about way up the mountain?
when you're on in your subdivision farther up, it's just, I don't know if there's a possibility of, making a bit of a shortcut so people can get on that trail from your project easier.
Oh,
with their-
out of our project, we have a number of spots designed for people out of our project to get to the Forest Service trails and those trails,
Yeah,
et
yeah.
cetera. I think those are clearly delineated on our FPDP submittals with arrows leaving the property.
Okay.
Because, like at the top, we have snowmobiles running out of there right now,
Oh, yeah.
right at the
no,
top. So
yeah,
we're trying to
yeah.
maintain that. That was an old Jeep road that's gated off by but we use it a lot. It's kind of a primary connection. That's
Yeah.
where our power to the top came in. Yeah, we have, and, I ride, on, the Denver Water Board. There's like an old road that went through our
Mhm.
property and looped around in the upper part of Leland Creek that's there still, and I rode on that. And we have a number of connections planned to
Yeah.
connect to WTB and all that. I ride all those trails, Andy.
Oh,
So,
I do too, so,
Sunset Pink, so on and so forth. So those will come along as we get up the West Mountain.
it'd be a nice supplement to your transportation plan to, as we go along with more projects up here.
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
necessarily see trails as transportation, but regardless, it's a great amenity.
Yeah.
And it's a nice convenience for people. So
Great amenity.
we're
for
gonna
the
try to
community. Yeah.
try to maintain what we can in terms of connections with our Forest Service adjacent properties, because there's some great trails back there for
Yeah.
sure. That's it for me. I mean, unless you guys have any questions, I just want to mainly cover the traffic, the water. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, that was referring to the master water plan, said we have no further comments on it. So I don't know if y'all got a copy of that. And so y'all can talk about it.
I'm guessing further revisions then triggered.
Well, I think
additional-
we've made revisions and
Right.
resubmitted, and that's going to happen over and over and over again, guys, right? So, I mean, you're going to have revisions as we refine FPDPs and detail in stuff. That master water plan is going to more likely than not, like where we shifted a road, really related to comments from you guys. I think good idea. But you're going to have those kind of evolutions. So it shouldn't require, a whole nother kind of link up, but the annexation agreement does require submittal. So we did meet that requirement already. And I would like to stick with the language in the annexation agreement. So
I have a question. Are you suggesting that we remove that condition of approval? That's
I
what you're
am.
suggesting.
yeah, that's what I would like to have done, is take that condition off.
At this stage, because we haven't seen it, when you were just clarifying the green zone, the yellow zone, the red zone, and my.
Katie, do you really want to see it?
No.
Do you even know what you're
Really.
looking at from a construction plan perspective? Yeah, there's a whole lot of engineers involved in that one.
If you already have it and it's been submitted,
Right.
I don't think it's a problem leaving it in here.
I
'cause it's
don't-
not an extra.
Like I say, guys, I think it's approved. I mean, I think it's already been approved, but I think it's a condition that probably is hopefully off the table before we get to our February 18th town board
Yeah,
meeting.
I bet it will.
Yeah, because I mean, there are literally no, other than a pipe realignment. I mean, Merrick's not gonna be commenting on a pipe that was realigned for a road, right? I mean, it's gonna be pretty not, I'm sure the engineers met the town standards and it should all be good. So, any other questions for me, guys?
I think maybe while Clark is up at the podium, I do think it warrants maybe a broader discussion. Again, this letter from Merrick is dated November 12th, 2024. Since that time, we've had at least 3, maybe even 4 additional submittals of the water master plan. And additionally, since this time, since the November 2024 letter, some of the comments in subsequent review letters from Merrick, I'm looking at one. In fact, I'll go ahead and share my screen. This one's already out of date. It's from June of last year. But it notes comments relating to water supply sources. I still don't believe that has been addressed in any subsequent submittals of the water master plan. Thus far, they've focused on layout and location of water mains, as well as water tanks and pump stations. To my knowledge, the town still has not received any information regarding water supply sources, the actual wells that would pump water out of the ground to a treatment facility and then send that treated water to these development areas. That is one aspect of this water master plan that has not been submitted. And furthermore, I would just state that even revisions to something that was previously approved, that doesn't mean it's still approved, in my opinion. The revisions to those construction documents that Merrick issued this approval letter in November of 2024, those revisions have been significant enough in these subsequent submittals that I would not consider this prior approval still valid because there have been revisions.
So,
Okay, hang on. Can I address that while it's fresh in my mind? Do you
yeah,
mind?
Sure.
go ahead. Maybe you'll answer my
So
question.
first of all, there's been a number of water source facilities submittals, and I'm shocked and surprised that your planning director is not aware of those. Your public works director in Merrick has been involved in and commented on multiple water source submittal plans. In fact, the last round of revisions, they said, Clark, we'll turn this back around in 14 days if you just make these adjustments and revisions. So long and the short, there's been a number of water source submittals to the Public Works Department, to Merrick. And what Garrett just said is factually incorrect. So just for the record. Secondly, I'd like to point to Article 5 of the annexation agreement. Since we're going to dive into this, let's dive into it. Section 5.3 of the annexation agreement. Plain language. Prior to approval of an FPDP or subdivision application, okay? So that means that prior to it being approved, okay, developer, it's us, shall submit design drawings and text documents based upon the master water plan for any water for source facilities required to serve the subdivision. Okay, that's for the subdivision, not for the master overall project. That's what the PDD was for. So you've already got construction drawings that are submitted with these plans. Okay. But this requirement, the same thing follows for the master water system. You've got water source facility, master water system, master water design. Those items have to be submitted prior to approval, not approved prior to approval. Do you guys understand the difference? The big difference. And let me explain why that's written that way. These are big picture, very large conceptual engineering documents. They're fungible, they're flexible. The actual construction documents that tie into this big picture stuff is required and submitted with the plans. Those are the construction drawings for the subdivision. Okay. And as for water source facilities, we have substantial amount of EQRs currently available based on the system we've already built, right? It's called the South system. So it's the old Maryville system. And the comments have been relatively minor on the source plan. And I think we have a pretty good idea of when we need to bring on more wells. And the treatment plant, thankfully, back when we built that in 2000, was designed for expansion. It's got two pumps in it too, right now. One's redundant, so only one operates at a time, and space for another 290 gallon per minute pump. That pump will get dropped in when we max out the first 290 gallon per minute pump, which we're not quite there, but we're close. So those kind of things are all spelled out in this water source plan. And we haven't gotten the final one done, but I can assure you that it's like virtually finished. It's almost there. So I feel really confident that we've met the letter of the law, the letter of the annexation agreement we entered into. We've submitted all these things, and these PDPs, preliminary plats, final plats shouldn't be getting held up over submission requirements that have been made. And there shouldn't be additional burden put on us to have those approved prior to having a final plat approved or an FPDP approved. That is an additional burden, not in your town code, not in this annexation agreement. That is the town unilaterally saying, well, now we want this. Okay, that's not what the agreement is, guys. So let's just be real clear. Let's not have another fight. Let's follow our annexation agreement, huh? And the letter of the law. So that would be my request, and I think that would be wise of everyone here to do.
Thank you.
So I'm still a little bit unclear on something. You're waiting for you're waiting for that approval, and you said you thought it was going to come before.
No, I'm not waiting for the approval. Garrett and Alan and the town board would like to wait for the approval before this is
Okay.
recorded and finished. But what
What's-
I'm trying to tell you is the master water plan submittal that has been made
Yeah,
is construction level design drawings
I
for the
understand.
entire water system.
I'm not.
And that should get, because it's already been approved once, and the adjustments were literally shifting some pipes. That should get I see no reason for Merrick not to approve that plan. And they have 30 days per the annexation agreement to review those kind of submittals.
And Merrick's the one that does the approval.
Merrick is the town's engineer.
And that's the approval that you all are.
Yeah, that's the one
saying
that I
that
just
you're-
passed to them. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay,
Um,
I understand.
Yeah, and then the water source plan, I actually did, I had some questions on it on Monday. And Michael Arian, who used to be with Resource Engineering, who helped us drill the rendezvous wells, is now with the firm Colorado River Water Engineering. Any case, he's involved. I wanted him to look over this, ensure that we were exactly in line with the water rights that we gave to the town to serve this project, right? The 98 CW 41 water augmentation plan. And he has confirmed that. So I'm sure they're putting finishing touches on the final version of that. And I see no issues with that. We do have expectations to probably be drilling another well or two this summer. Okay. They don't need to be online this summer. There's time, but there's a process. And it's a lengthy process with, y'all probably didn't know all this stuff,
Yeah.
but basically the CDPHE has a very lengthy process for bringing wells online to a public water system. Okay. And it's like a year worth of pump testing and water quality testing and all this other stuff. And so all of those regulations need to be met and followed, hence why we would like to go ahead and get some additional wells on. We're also probably going to re-pump test some wells that are test wells that we drilled before that don't have pumps in them. Okay, during that whole process. So goal is max out the treatment plant we built in Rendezvous, which feeds our side too. That helps kind of town consolidation and management, keeps it more condensed. And the ideal situation is all of the wells are on that side. However, when I did the highway crossing and brought all the utilities over from Rendezvous to Grand Park, I did put a raw water line in under the highway, designed, it's approved by the town, I think the town owns it maybe, for wells that are in the well field designed on the west side to feed water back to the treatment plant. So those kind of facilities are already in place and sitting there. So a lot of stuff, but you wouldn't think it's so complicated to get water out of our faucets, right?
But it's pretty critical too.
Oh, it's very critical. I mean, you don't think I take it really, really, really serious? We have
Yeah.
a lot of people that
Yeah.
are very, very smart involved in this stuff.
And we depend on our town staff and engineer to help us with this too,
Yep.
so.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. So I think we're in good shape on that stuff, guys. So,
So just if I could clarify, because I'm not sure Margaret's question ever got answered. What you're asking us to do is to move forward with an approval of this, but to remove condition number 2.
I don't have their condition list, but whatever condition was. For
It's
the
in their staff report.
water plan.
Condition 2.
Yep.
And it has to do with the West Mountain Water Master Plan,
Yep.
which you say is the plan for the whole West Mountain. And that was submitted before. And what we're now talking about is filing 1.
Right. And
So you
and-
don't have to necessarily have, I think your point was you don't necessarily have to have the final approval of the grand master plan for the whole West Mountain in order to get started with filing 1 and do what you need to do for your water there.
You got it.
Okay, that's what I thought we were headed towards.
Thank you.
Yep. Should have just let you explain that. Would've been a lot
Something like
faster.
that.
So-
Good at regurgitating.
Any other questions for the applicant from the board? Okay, thanks, Clark.
Thank you all. Appreciate everyone's time.
So but my impression from staff is that they would feel more comfortable to have that condition left and then hopefully resolved before the town board meeting.
And if there is a question with the annexation agreement, then we can modify the town, because it's the town that approves this, so.
Yeah, staff's strong recommendation is to keep that condition of approval in at this time, recognizing that this application will advance to the Board of Trustees for final approval. And at that time, that condition may be removed after planning staff is able to confer with staff in Public Works and get their opinion on this matter.
Yeah. Okay,
All right,
so any other
So,
questions?
my
So can
question
we-
to you, Garrett, would be,
So I'm
if
sorry,
all of that
let us
happens,
finish our discussion here, Clark.
I'm sorry. So my question to you is, if all of that discussion happens and he happens to get master plan commented and he responds and it gets approved, then when it gets presented to the Board of Trustees, that condition would be automatically removed because you'd be satisfied.
I don't think it'd be automatically removed if that condition remains on it after our approval.
Well,
So,
if it goes before the trustees and the town is, happy with what they've had their conversations with all interested parties, then why would it be put to the trustees with the condition
because it's part
still
of our,
there?
part of our motion. And at that point, at the trustees meeting, the staff and the town engineer would say that this condition has been resolved.
Okay, all right.
And that sounds like it'd be pretty easy to have that done, so.
Would you take it off of the recommendation though? Or would you leave it on and say it's been resolved? How would you handle that? It's just two different things.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think it's to be determined based on where we're at leading into the board meeting, right? As we communicated with the applicant, if the planning commission chooses to approve this resolution and advance it to the board, we anticipate bringing this to the board on February 18th, which is just 3 weeks from now, which is a relatively short amount of time, but certainly enough time for planning staff to confer with public works staff as well as Merrick. We received, as I mentioned, a resubmittal of the construction drawings associated with the water master plan earlier this month in January, which are still under review. It could be possible that Merrick and Public Works are comfortable with the submittal that they have received and other prior documentation from prior submittals to remove that condition of approval. So if staff determines that within the next 3 weeks, we will modify our staff report and our planning recommendations regarding that condition, if necessary, or we will leave it in and continue to work with Public Works, Merrick, and the applicant to ensure that those conditions are satisfied.
is
Okay.
there a question for our legal team too, in terms of the tie-in to the annexation agreement and our expectations?
Well, staff has
Approving
those
the
resources.
principal for what we need at this time. So that, just run it by the legal team.
I think that's a fair question to ask. I will just add that this was a condition of approval for the approval of filing one a year ago, as well as I believe the original approval prior to that in 2024. So I also think just staff is being consistent with keeping that condition in for this approval. But certainly we will confer with Public Works and Merrick ahead of February 18th. Again, if you all choose to advance this
And the
application.
applicant, of course, so,
Yes, and the applicant, of course. Yeah.
Can I make a motion?
Yes.
yep.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Planning Commission Resolution 2026-0101, recommending approval of the Grand Park West Mountain Filing 1, as is on our agenda.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I'm concerned about the legal side of this in terms of, the annexation agreement, what he said. earlier. So we can go ahead and vote on it, but I'm concerned about that, and I agree with Clark on that. So that's just so you know where I'm coming from.
Okay, so
And-
let's take an individual vote then, um, rather than vote en masse, because could we have a vote, please, starting with Bob?
Well, I'm taking Garrett at his word that he'd remove that condition before it gets to the trustees if everything's satisfied by that time. And because I'm taking his word for that, I vote yay.
And Katie,
Yay.
Margaret?
I'm going to vote no simply because of that condition. If I had my way, I'd have it removed.
Okay,
So I'm going to vote no for that reason.
okay.
Not because
And
I
I
don't
vote
want it
aye,
advanced.
but does that run into a quorum problem at all?
Does it?
It-
Okay, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so, we'll move on to approving and certifying the Fraser Forward Comprehensive Plan.
All right, thank you, Chair Miller. We do have Nora Bland from Cushing Terrell, our consultant partner, working with the town on the comprehensive plan. She is going to kick us off with a presentation, and then following that, I thought it would just be valuable to spend some time, open up the plan document, and kind of highlight the key areas that changed from our review of the plan in November. But yeah, Nora, feel free to take it away.
Okay, great. And I can share screen.
Nora, 1 second. If the planning commission could open the public hearing for the comprehensive plan. that
Oh,
would be
sorry. Okay.
appreciated.
And call for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Antoinette. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. Are you seeing my cover slide here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you all so much for having us. This is a really exciting time for the town. We've been working towards this for almost 2 years now. We're really proud of the work that's been done and so much community engagement that's gone into this draft plan. But we're really open to discussion tonight. So hoping to really just present a high level of the work that's been done and then open things up for you all. So we'll talk about the purpose, the community engagement that's been done, the values that we landed on from that engagement, talk about the plan organization and elements, and then talk about how the town has chosen to approach implementation, future land use, and then we'll have a larger discussion. So really the purpose of this plan is it's a long range policy guide for managing growth, development, and public investment. It builds on prior planning efforts, but it also responds to changing conditions and priorities, and then looks at new opportunities and challenges that have arisen since the last update. And then really it's supposed to inform your decision making and those decisions of the board of trustees, and then various boards and commission staff, and then community partners, and then developers who are also interested in investing in the community. So we have some kind of the trajectory of the comprehensive plan. Really the inputs that go into it are, we did an existing conditions analysis back in 2023, 24, talking about demographics, existing land use, population, projections for population growth, and then an economic market study. We looked at best practices and looked at your existing plans and studies, and then obviously community input is a huge part of the plan process. So we did surveys, open houses, pop-ups. I'll talk a little bit more in detail about that in a minute. And then really what that informed was the plan guidance. So we're talking about the visions, the goals, and the strategies within each chapter. And then we're hoping to provide you as a town with some implementation tools. So we have the future land use plan, which is the land use map, the categories, and the downtown vision. The implementation matrix, which includes all of those actions, which are ideally kind of a roadmap for how to implement the plan. And then those will hopefully identify some regulatory updates that can happen in the future. So the outreach process, we kicked things off back in May of 2024. We launched the website and we did a community survey, which we advertised at the picnic in the park in August. And then we've done various updates to the board and you all throughout the process. We did some stakeholder interviews and focus group meetings in October and November of 2024. And then again, we came back to you all, the Downtown Development Authority board and the board in 2025, in early 2025. And then we had our first open house in March of 2025, and then updated you all on it in April of that year after that to provide the input that we heard at that event. Again, spoke with the board and the DDA board. And then Garrett was able to communicate some ideas to the board retreat last summer. And then again, we talked to the DDA board. And then we had our next open house event. So a lot of those board updates were about we were really drafting the meat and potatoes of the comprehensive plan. So that was a time of checking our work and making sure that we were on the right track with your guidance and guidance of other electeds. And then our open house in last summer in July was really about confirming that we were going in the right direction with the community and getting feedback on a lot of the elements that you see in the draft right now. And we held an online open house event so that folks that couldn't attend in person could provide feedback on draft plan elements. And then we're in our final phase now, and this is our kind of ratification hearing, and then adoption looking at February of 2026 by the board. These community values were basically what was mentioned most often when we talked to the community, when we talked to stakeholders. These were the things that rose to the top throughout the entire process. So affordable and diverse housing options, economic resiliency and workforce development, Fraser's unique spirit and character, safe roads and access for all, public services and community resources, and then natural spaces and wild places. And those are kind of the cornerstones throughout the plan that you'll see highlighted in the goals. So we organized the plan by the 4 seasons to really reflect the identity of Fraser as a year-round community that is shaped by seasonal change. And so each season kind of represents a different rhythm of life, and spring it brings new beginnings and opportunities. Summer drives energy, fall gathers harvest and reflects, and then winter really strengthens foundations and prepares for the year ahead. So the plan elements are broken down by these different levels of the vision is a really prophetic statement that talks about the future and maybe when most or all goals have been achieved by the town. And then goals are some broad statements that push forward the vision and really encapsulate the values. Strategies are derived by the goals, but they represent kind of a set of guidelines that you all and staff can use for decision making. And then actions are really that roadmap. They are the steps that departments or partner organizations can take to implement the goals and the strategies. So I'll start with our downtown vision. The vision here is to create a vibrant and inviting downtown that embodies the individuality of Fraser through thriving businesses, lively community spaces, walkable destinations, and local character. And then the topics that are addressed within this chapter are comfortable environment for walking, biking, and rolling, lively and sustainable business environment, the Fraser River and the trail being the heart of the town and shaping part of its identity, and then just being a go-to destination where there's always something fun for everyone. Another piece of this project and the scope that we were really excited to be a part of was this downtown vision plan. So we looked at Clayton Court and Highway 40 and what we could envision for its future. And we looked at the existing framework, proposed framework, and then there's a lot of other fun and helpful diagrams in the draft plan that really help tell the story of how this could be a reality. And so we also looked at the recommendations that we put together in the downtown vision plan and directly tied them to the goals within kind of the more text heavy part of the document. And so that's it's a really exciting part of Fraser's potential future is looking at really creating something out of a lot of momentum that's already happening in town. For housing, the vision is to encourage the building and maintenance of great places to call home, whether that be year-round or seasonally. And the topics we address here are promoting a variety of housing options, both rental and for sale, encouraging mixed-use housing for walkable neighborhoods, building and strengthening partnerships to increase affordable housing, and then balancing housing options for year-round residents, seasonal workforce, and then non-resident owners and visitors. One second. Sorry, I'm coming off of a cold. For, excuse me, economic vitality, the vision here is a vibrant mountain town filled with shopping, dining, and entertainment options, fueled by both happy visitors and residents. Topics we address here are thriving, memorable mountain downtown, bolstering some more counter seasonal business to help balance with workforce needs, encouraging growth in small businesses, making Fraser a place where people can both live and work affordably, and then encouraging collaboration among businesses in emerging shopping areas. For our community chapter, the vision here is a funky and authentic town that celebrates its local history, outdoor recreation, being a welcoming community, and having that mountain town character. So topics we address for the goals in this chapter are preserving the charm and sense of community of Fraser, ensuring development enhances the visual character, kind of blending that modern design with the natural beauty, And then celebrating arts and culture to create spaces that inspire people to connect and be creative. For parks, recreation, open space, and trails, the vision is that this system enriches the community by providing fun places to explore, stay active, and enjoy a healthy environment. Goals we address are protecting and enhancing open spaces, maintaining and enhancing the network, providing more opportunities for indoor recreation, and then promoting inclusive and accessible public spaces for all. Land use, the vision here is that Fraser grows thoughtfully and sustainably, ensuring a vibrant community that meets the needs of both current and future residents while preserving Fraser's really unique and wonderful character. The goals that we address are promoting a balanced mix of land uses that supports the town's ability to provide services and also protecting those such valued natural resources. Plan development where infrastructure and services already exist, and then ensuring new development is beneficial to the bottom line and fiscal sustainability of the town, and then aligning the zoning code with the vision and the goals of the comprehensive plan. Sustainability, natural resources. We talk about the vision as Fraser treasures its natural resources and is dedicated to preserving and improving them, making sure they're accessible for future generations to enjoy. Goal topics are to support initiatives that preserve the natural beauty, embracing sustainable development practices, promoting efforts to improve air quality, and inspiring healthy and sustainable lifestyles. Town services and infrastructure, they ideally will provide residents with safe, reliable, and effective amenities. Topics in this chapter are to provide essential services to all ages and abilities, expand health services, and then enhance the physical infrastructure to support projected growth. When we talk about transportation and mobility, the vision is a joyful and connected mountain town where walking, biking, and transit make it easy to get around and explore. Our goals addressed building safe walking and biking connections for year-round use. Plan for transit experiences that includes micro transit and an enhanced rail station area, supporting a well-connected road network that really looks at efficient movement, and then providing easy to find parking and hopefully concentrating parking. Looking at working with our regional partners, the vision is that Fraser communicates and coordinates with other jurisdictions, agencies, and nonprofits to collaboratively address regional planning issues. Topics here are to develop a framework for ongoing regional collaboration, encourage coordination around land use, coordinate regional transit projects, create forward-thinking regional housing plans, work with the county and Winter Park to plan for infrastructure improvements and services, coordinate parks and recreation, and then protect residents and visitors from potential human or man-made disasters. So there is an implementation portion of the plan called Fraser in Action, and each action step is assigned a priority level. So we have kind of critical, vital, and desirable, and it's also assigned a time frame. So ongoing, which is really as needed. We don't envision this being completed. Short term, which is maybe 0 to 3 years, medium term being 3 to 5, and then long term being over 5 years. And then we have potential partners identified because you can't rely on your limited and wonderful town staff to do everything for you. And so and you know the best created products are done as a team. And so we've identified various partners to help in implementing the plan, and they are identified in the implementation chapter. Garrett, do you want me to pause here, or do you want me to just keep going?
No, maybe not quite in so much detail. but-
Yeah, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have we all read it?
Yeah, and move a little more towards how things have changed since we last considered this. So
Sure. Yeah, I think Nora, if you want to just move right along and then,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Briefly, what we do with future land use mapping and future land use planning, what it is, it's a tool to illustrate the vision for growth. It's guidance for decision making. It is informed by the public history and landowners, and it is amendable in the comprehensive plan. What it's not is regulatory. It is just a guiding document. It's not zoning, but it can help inform zoning updates. It's not a plan for development, and it's also not new. The 2010 comprehensive plan has a future land use map. So I'll only highlight really what's changed from the last time you all saw the future land use map, which is that we added this plan development overlay. And that's really just to communicate that what's shown on the map right now is what has been approved and what the town has envisioned moving forward. But it's not as set in stone necessarily as zoning. So that has been applied to the Grand Park area, and then a couple of areas within Rendezvous. Another change that's been added to the draft is some annexation guidance. So these are broken out into what the community really needs, and then some more of desirable items. So the needs are conveyance of water rights, and then dedication of land for a future 6th through 12th public school, the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant, a post office, whether that be an expansion of the existing building or relocation, and then a public works satellite facility. Inclusion of affordable housing in a potential development, and then extension of the Fraser River Trail, or permanent preservation of open space. Some more of those interests or desires is dedication of land for a post-secondary education facility, additional recreation facilities, and then any kind of future public purpose that the town determines. Also, the inclusion of light industrial or manufacturing uses for some more local employment opportunities, and then the creation of a geothermal utility district. That's the end. Next steps, we're going to the board on the 4th for a workshop, and then we're looking at potential dates for the board to adopt the plan, whether that be the 4th or the 18th. I don't know, Garrett, if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, just briefly, I think currently the plan is to do the workshop presentation with the board on the 4th. And if there's any, significant feedback, certainly we can hold off on the adoption action until the 18th or even the first meeting in March if absolutely necessary. But the idea would be to have it adopted by the board in February, again, if the Planning Commission chooses to advance it to that stage tonight. So that's kind of the timeline. So any questions on that? Next, I was just going to pull up some of the specific places of the plan that changed since November. Nora highlighted a few of them. I just wanted to talk through a couple additional ones, but are we good to
yeah.
dive in? there.
Maybe look at that mapping, the addition of the mapping a little more closely too, so.
Sure.
And some public comment, of course, so.
Yeah. So I'll just go in chronological order. The first significant addition to the plan is this letter from the mayor. Some of the feedback we received in November was, a sense that the plan didn't really highlight and tout some of the strengths that Fraser already has and some of the achievements that have been made in recent history, as well as speaking to the aspirational and future-looking nature of this plan. So that's what this letter intends to do. It talks about growth and development in our downtown areas and our annexed PD districts. It touts, accolades that Fraser Valley Elementary School have received and the library district and our local civic and volunteer organizations, and speaks to, the work that the town is doing with St. Louis Landing. So kind of just serves as an overall sales pitch and introduction to the document.
Good addition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, couple minor things. We added some additional labeling to figure 1 as well as figure 2, just to help provide more regional context to these, countywide maps. We tweaked some of the existing land use designations just slightly. A couple undeveloped properties and rendezvous were actually shown as open space, as well as in the St. Louis Landing development, there were some old right-of-way road lines shown that were from the previous Victoria Village subdivision that are no longer applicable, so we removed those. We had comments about this figure here that related to housing affordability and the percentage of units in Fraser that are occupied year round. We cleaned up these figures and used different data sources, admittedly, that come from the decennial census from 2000, 2010, and 2020, just because that data is, one, a bit more accurate and consistent, and two, better helps tell the story than the other data that we were pulling from. So speaks to how housing units have grown over time in Fraser, but the percent that are occupied year round has actually decreased. Moving on, we added this additional figure 7 graph here under the, I think this is the local economy section, kind of to compare monthly visits to Winter Park Resort, just to show how that compares to Safeway. On our downtown vision plan, these kind of focus area maps were cleaned up, some additional labeling and legends added to them. On the vision plan itself, we added a bit more labeling around the rail station and identified the town's acquisition of 360 Railroad, which is envisioned as the future Fraser Mobility Hub. So identifying that somewhat recent change. There were some minor changes to the various strategies and actions. I won't dive into them. I'll just first jump ahead to the implementation matrix itself and note that we filled in this other applicable policy column. The intention is to help make this matrix a bit more usable, so that when, staff or the planning commission or our board identifies, we need to improve signage and wayfinding for easier navigation in our downtown. We can look at the action items down here, but we can also look to, Downtown Vision 2.2, which relates to increasing foot traffic and visitation, and looking at some of the action items there to see if there are any interrelated actions and synergistic opportunities for town staff to pursue. In the future land use map section, we added we added a paragraph about our planned development zoned areas in Fraser, kind of speaking to a little bit about just general policy statements, recognizing that this comprehensive plan document itself doesn't do anything to modify those existing annexation agreements and plan development district plans that are guided, that guide development in those areas. And that really the future land use map is more informational in nature and certainly not regulatory. We also added some language around potential annexation policy, as well as various community needs and community interests that could be achieved through a potential future annexation, as Nora mentioned. And then lastly, on the future land use map itself, we did add the plan development overlay, this diagonal hatch, to basically any area within Rendezvous or Grand Park that hasn't developed or hasn't had a approved recorded final plan development plan or FPDP. So that includes all of West Mountain, as well as some parcels in Rendezvous and a couple smaller parcels in Grand Park that haven't received a final development plan at this time. And then last but not least, we did add some more survey responses and feedback and engagement that we received from our open houses and other surveys into the appendix. So not just the initial community survey that was done back in the summer of 2024, but documenting the other engagement that we've received as well. So that kind of summarizes the big picture changes since November. Again, not much in terms of substantive policy changes, more just, arriving to a final document for you all. So,
Okay. Then just real quick on a point of order tonight with the few members that we have present on quorum and the votes needed to pass this. So before we take public comment, of course.
yes, I can speak to that briefly here. So there are some, state statutes that speak to adoption of comprehensive plans. And one of them just notes that it requires a 2/3 vote of the members of the commission. Just as an update for everyone on the commission and the audience, Commissioner Joy McCoy has resigned from her seat on the planning commission. So we are currently down a member to 6. So with 6 seated members, a 2/3 vote simply requires 4, which is in attendance this evening.
All of us would need to vote aye tonight to pass this. So
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
So it
good.
does. Yeah.
do we want board comments at all before we go to public comments or? Okay, the public comments on this?
Good evening, everyone. Clark Lipscomb for the record. This has been going for 2 years, I think, and there's been a lot of comments, and I'm concerned the comments aren't getting fully addressed and incorporated. So I think this needs to be sent back and address all the comments that were received. So a few thoughts. The plan doesn't address Fraser's competitive position with the regional market. We compete with Winter Park and Granby, whether you like it or not. We compete for investment. We compete for sales tax dollars, lodging dollars, et cetera. There's no defined competitive identity in this plan. This plan just assumes growth is going to occur. Doesn't explain, why investment should choose Fraser over Winter Park, or why should investment choose Fraser over Granby, for instance. Why should, a business not located in Granby versus Fraser? Those things are just completely left out. Housing is discussed. I think it's conceptual. Maybe that's fine, but all I've heard for the last 5 years is we have a housing crisis, we have a housing crisis, we have a housing crisis. And I mean, certainly there's a lot being built right now to address it. Maybe we overbuild it. Maybe that's great for all the tenants and good for the businesses and we get lower rents. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't think there's an implementation framework in this plan that's really aspirational or actionable. I just don't. I mean, I think it is kind of lackluster. Education, Garrett, you'll remember last meeting that I was at regarding this particular topic. And I spoke to education. and how many people we lose, the lack of retention of families, young families in particular, after they get out of 5th grade, unaddressed. All this speaks to is we're going to seek some land to be dedicated if we annex land for a 6 through 12. I think that's not addressing the comments that were heard, not just from me, but from many other people. So guys, as Fraser grows, the absence of planning for 6 through 12 school, it's going to drive families out of town. It already has. It's going to reduce our year-round population. That's partly why you see the declining population and the increase of homes that have been built. And it weakens our local workforce. It really does in the business space. It's a huge issue. And it's just getting ignored by this town staff and this consultant. I just don't think that's a good growth plan. A growth plan that ignores secondary education is not complete. And I think that's a sore subject with me because it was brought up time and time and time again. The vacant and underutilized commercial spaces not addressed. I mean, you guys just tried to pass a moratorium to stop housing developments on B zone land. Yet there's all of this empty commercial space. There's really nothing in here to explain how existing commercial areas succeed. And how do you credibly plan for new ones if you got all these old ones, right? I mean, I've got space. I'm going to have a lot of space available, guys. Attracting investment here, this does not support. This is as I will say it again, Garrett, this is a marketing tool for the town of Fraser. It is a marketing tool, and you've got to look at it that way. Your plan, this plan, does not address the sales tax concentration risk that Fraser has. And I'm speaking specifically, and Andy knows exactly what I'm talking about, to the disproportionate amount of sales tax derived from one business, Safeway, and how we broaden our tax base and get less dependent on just one entity. Something happens to that store, man, everybody in here doesn't have a job. Right? We're already having budget issues. I'll get to that in a minute. Healthcare is not addressed. You now have a hospital in town. Okay. Took a big effort to get this hospital built. Not really addressed. Hospitals, healthcare, access to healthcare, not addressed. Healthcare capacity, not addressed. Coordination of healthcare, housing, and transit, not addressed. I mean, these are things that are essential to any kind of growth infrastructure. Having quality healthcare. If you go check the boxes of core basic public services that people expect and want in any community, and I will remind you, Peggy Smith, if she were sitting here, the last time we discussed this, she called Fraser a third world country. I remember it like it was yesterday. Okay. And what she was citing was the fact that these core basic public services that towns that we compete with have, we don't have. She wants more restaurants. She just got healthcare, so that's good, but we're really not speaking to that. Transportation planning is in this. It's not financially credible. First of all, your plan promotes transportation expansion. Yet Fraser just recently reduced a major route due to budget constraints, right? I mean, Katie, you were involved in that discussion, right? Lots of people came out. So how are you going to expand this transportation? You got Grand Park going up the West Mountain, right? You got Rendezvous and Winter Park doing stuff, and all the transportation funders are out of money. Not addressed. Not addressed. Great to have aspirations, but there's no functional implementation as to how you get there and what are the ultimate goals. So you've got growth dependent transportation without a funding plan. That is not planning. The plan contains a serious factual error, and I have asked and asked and asked. Page 167 and 168 has the Grand Park PDD plan, and it's got a chart to the side calling it as open space. That is a misrepresentation of the community to show that plan. All of the prior comprehensive plans, the last one that was adopted was a readoption of the prior one because the mayor rightfully chose to save the money rather than spend all this time. But the bottom line, guys, unless that map's changed, this is going to be seriously challenged. And you've been told to change it, and it got changed in one spot, and then you left it in two others. So that's not acceptable.
So Clark, we're on a 3-minute rule here. You've gone far beyond, and
Okay.
just in general, what your
Well,
comments
in
here.
general,
So let me just react a little bit, Clark. In general, this is, yeah, and you know as well as I that it's an aspirational document. And this is just the fair, relatively easy first step towards trying to make this happen. And all your comments are really towards, and really good comments towards, how do we make this happen? How do we make schools happen? How do we keep a transportation system viable? How do we go to the ski area for funds? You know, all the nuts and bolts and the actual mechanic work here is not in this document. It's not designed to be in this document. This document's designed to give us guidance to get those going. This is the first step to a hell of a lot of work that you'll be intimately involved with, I'm sure. So I agree with your comments, but I think that and some of these editing things that you commented on, bring to staff, and let's clean up the map a little bit. But the general tone is that you're right. We've got to find ways to implement this master plan. So really appreciate your comments.
Well, thank you. 2 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars of tax money. And
So
nothing
what's the
different than
cost
the
of
prior
this?
comprehensive plans. Not great, guys.
Okay, thanks, Clark.
Yeah.
What was the overall cost of that we put into this?
Yeah, this plan was budgeted for, initial contract was $205,000. We had to approve a contract amendment that I believe put the final number at 240.
Okay.
If I could maybe speak to some of the things, and I'll share my screen.
About that map, 167, 168.
Yeah, I'd like to understand
the,
what that
there's-
comment's about.
So what we are depicting here in especially the West Mountain area of Grand Park is the 2005 Grand Park PDD. What's shown here, these colored bubbles, the roadways in white, the open space golf course areas in green. These reflect the approved recorded 2005 Grand Park PDD exactly. Now, will it be, go ahead.
Does it refer to that on this map?
On this map, no.
And maybe that is what needs to be, we're gonna keep those colors, then we should probably have that in there as an explanation. Or leave the colors. I don't know. Okay.
You're thinking?
Yeah, I have pulled up on the screen the language that was added to the future land use section of the plan. I think in focusing on the last two sentences in the paragraph here, which I'll zoom in on. The future land use map reflects the latest approvals and entitlements for the Grand Park and Rendezvous plan developments. Any future amendments to these areas are subject to review and approval by the town in conjunction with the plan development amendment procedures and their respective annexation agreements. I'm certainly open to language that makes it more explicit that this plan in no way regulates the plan development zoned areas. I think the nature of a comprehensive plan is that it is not a regulatory document.
And that statement's made elsewhere in this.
Yes,
Yeah, made
unless
plainly, so.
explicitly adopted as a regulatory document, which is not in any way proposed by town staff or our consultant. This is a guiding document.
Yeah, and that's really plain throughout the document.
Yes,
So
Let me just,
sure.
why did we even have it like that? I mean, why do you have it from 2005?
because that's when those areas were lined out, was in that.
But hasn't
annexation.
it changed since then? Is it not changed?
Let me just go back to the map. So in the case of West Mountain Filing 1, which we
Uh-huh.
just looked at,
Yeah.
yes, certainly it has changed. That document hasn't been recorded yet.
Mhm.
And also, when we started this comprehensive planning process
Mhm.
approximately 18 months ago, that was in an earlier stage. It hadn't gone through, the planning commission and board approval process when this map was initially put together. And staff just didn't feel like it was appropriate for it to necessarily reflect it here
Mhm.
per se. The rest of West Mountain, we have applications under review, but certainly none of those outside of West Mountain Filing One have advanced through the public hearing and board approval stage. So that is why it's depicted in this way.
We just leave the colors out. Would that work for you, Mr. Lipscomb? If we just left the colors out of it and put the lines?
Yeah, it's a.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that that'd be appropriate.
and
Because you're right, it's a little bit deceiving if somebody is looking at this as a sales. I think it can be used as a marketing tool, but that's not necessarily the intention behind it all. But I think that you could do it by just keeping the lines and
reference the
just
PDD.
a color that we don't have on that chart.
Reference
I
the
agree.
PDD.
Okay, that works?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
good. Well, that's pretty easy.
I-
Because it is confusing. I mean, how do you explain somebody, well, this was from the 2005 annexation agreement, but some things have changed and other things haven't. And
Yeah.
this over here has changed because it has been approved, but it's anyway, but not quite. So,
Well, let's continue with public comment. Good.
yes, sorry.
Lisa Steckler for the record, just to reiterate, because of why we want this, of the zoning of the map to be just as you're saying, without the colors, and understanding that you put in that for annexation agreements, I'll refer back to our annexation agreement, section 4.2. It is anticipated and proposed that land uses and densities within each planning area will change over the projected time frame of the project. And section 4.3, the 2003 PDD has not been configured based upon surveyed acreages for the various planning areas. So given all the things that were changing, in the event the boundaries of the planning area are adjusted at the time of subdivision and FPDP, then the approved member of residential units or the approved commercial square frontage provided for in the 2003 PDD shall be the controlling factor, and the designated acreage and density will be adjusted from that constraint. So on that map, it's very deceiving, given the one that we just saw earlier tonight. You can see that's not even underlay that's on that map.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If
Yeah,
I could
please.
maybe speak before the next public comment, town staff in no way has the intention to be deceiving with the future land use map. Town staff felt it was more informative to depict the 2005 PDD in West Mountain and show the existing framework and planning document for Grand Park in the future land use map so that the public was more knowledgeable and aware of that framework. Because in staff's opinion, not showing that framework creates more ambiguity and does not communicate the overall vision for the project, which was to the detriment of the 2010 comprehensive plan in the opinion of staff. But staff will make that change as directed by the planning commission. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay,
So if you give your
Hi.
name and where you live, please.
yes, Ann Hager, I live in Grand Lake. And I actually read the plan, the whole thing, and I was really struck by a couple of things. First of all, there's a lot of wonderful ideas in there, and I was thinking this could be a fabulous transformation, this, and turn Fraser into a world-class resort. But I did see that there's so many dependencies in there on government agencies. I saw DOLA over and over and over again. And there's an article that came out recently in the Colorado Sun that talks about the $850 million deficit with the state budget right now. So what we've been able to see over the last years in terms of lots of grants available, the town of Fraser getting a lot of grants for St. Louis Landing, those days are over. It's going to be really, really challenging to reach out to these government partners and be able to get the kind of support that this plan is really based on to be successful. I also am concerned that there's not enough staff to do this. You know, getting, even when you have partners, you need staff to work with the partners. So really the bottom line is lots of great ideas, but I don't think it's going to be executable. I don't think it's realistic, unfortunately.
Don't underestimate the energy of our volunteers too, so.
That's true.
Thank you though, very much for those comments. It is a challenge.
Brandon Jung for the record. Just wanted to point out if we could pull up on the screen, page 167 to that map that we're referencing here. Sort of piggybacking Garrett's comments. Why wouldn't we show the Elk Creek conservation easement that we recorded in 2021, 2022?
It's-
That's still got it. Okay. That was my only comment. I just wanted to
Okay.
call that out, and now that I understand, I see why it's not there.
Okay, got
Perfect,
it.
thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, Arnold Quinn, Fraser. The reason the map's important, and I know you guys think that map's in existence, but it's not. That map is an illusion of what may or may not come to be in the future. Until the density is settled in all of the building bubbles, there is no open space. There is no extra area. So to show that map is deceiving the public, Garrett. It's not helping the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Parnell. I think we covered the audience and we have nobody online. So any more discussion with the board here? Commission.
I'll just make a statement that, while I think Clark raised a number of good points, yeah, this document is going to be aspirational to an extent, and we want it to be. We want people to notice us. We want people to come here. But we don't want to make it seem that everything's going to happen that we say in our aspirations when there are so many constraints as state budgets. I mean, we have transportation problems. Part of our transportation problem is that we don't control the budget for Highway 40, US 40. We're at the mercy of CDOT to do anything. Even the Grand Park bypass that we've talked about for years, that's what, 5-6 years or more off based on current budgets. So it's one thing to present a beautiful rosy picture. It's another thing to be able to back it up with an actionable plan. And I think part of Clark's statements were the implementation plan is easy. It is the hard part. The aspirational part, the master plan, that's the whipped cream. But whether it all comes to happen or not is that's the down in the nitty gritty, the bug dust. It's the action plan. I'd like to go over the action plan a little bit more in light of what we've heard. And, I spent most of my career, I was in the corporate world. And I've been involved in a lot of visioning statements, a lot of master planning, and we've used a lot of consultants over the years to do these things. And the thing that I'll tell you from my experience is the most beautiful documents that were produced by these consultants simply, and their volumes, they're this thick and 197 slides. It kind of made me think about the volumes of master plans that, and growth plans that my companies have been involved with in the past, and how the majority of them wound up on a shelf taking up space and never got done because we didn't have the resources or we hadn't crafted the execution plan. We spent more time on the visionary stuff and the aspirational stuff and the feel-good stuff than we spent on the actual implementation and action plans. So I guess what I'm saying is we can take an action on this tonight if we so desire. In light of what I've heard, I'd like to go back over and take a look at the action plan part of this.
So when you say action plan, are you referring to the matrix?
Yeah,
Yeah, that talks about,
yeah, I mean,
it gives everything a number and what the
Yeah,
priorities
it-
are. I know
I-
that schools were one.
Yeah. Well,
looking at the school.
Garrett
the
did a good
K
job of
through
trying to
12.
get my measles chart put
We
in there.
we
'cause
tried.
I noticed that you had that little column over there where you referenced all the different parts that cooperated with each other throughout the plan. And I like that, but I don't know, probably didn't spend as much time on that as I should have.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a reason that dreaming happens at night and we work during the day. But that's the spirit of this, and it is kind of tough to think we spent nearly $250,000 on a plan that could end up on the shelf. And you listed all the plans in the past, and you missed the Fraser Valley Master Plan, right, that we did in the
Oh,
70s?
but there was no matrix.
I know, but that was that big lovely book.
Kind of like a goal for a work
Yeah,
plan,
yeah.
how staff should
Right.
focus their energy, which I think could be really useful.
Yeah. And
It
something we
makes
need-
those things stand out. It's
Yeah.
like, no, this is where we want to focus on here right off the bat and then in the near future.
Right, because this is a really difficult document to come up with, obviously, because it has to satisfy all the laundry list of everything we've talked about tonight to at least address it. But it really isn't designed to say how we get there. It's where
Right.
we need to get, but how we get there is the hard part of the work, so.
Yeah.
So the comprehensive plan is not designed for like an implement. It's just a kind of a pie in the sky is really what we're saying. Is that what it was supposed to be?
Yeah,
Or,
That's the nature of the beast, I believe.
yes.
So if I could answer that question by looking at some examples from our implementation matrix. Schools were brought up in the public comment period.
Yes.
So this is town services and infrastructure strategy 1.2, expand educational and community services. One of the action items underneath that, support the formation of a 6th through 12th grade school facility in Fraser. Priority level 1, it's a long-term action item, the most expensive, type of action, and partner is East Grand School District. So obviously, what does that mean? How can the town support the formation of a 6th through 12th grade school facility? Yes, that's fairly vague and it's to be determined, but it has been identified as one of the higher priorities for staff to formulate a way to achieve that in conjunction with our board. I would argue that's the purpose and how this matrix should be used by looking at what are the highest priority items as identified in this plan, as part of annual or even quarterly staff planning efforts, things like our annual board retreat and identifying board priorities, picking what the highest of the high priority items are and really diving in and focusing on those as part of staff's work plan.
But obviously, the critical part of that is the column that says East Grand School District, because we have
Right.
just our own representative on the board. And I was around when the Grand Lake Elementary School was built. I was a journalist at that time and wrote editorials about it that said we didn't think that the school could be, the district could afford that school. And it was built and used for a few years, but now it's a community center. So these are really tough community decisions as to when we build new schools. Because they have to serve the whole district. They specifically are for the students in that area, but we have a school district. We don't have a special school district for this valley. So it's a tough question.
Yeah. One other item I'd bring up again, because it was a point in public comment, intergovernmental coordination 3.2, work with Winter Park Resort, Granby, and Grand County to support operation and expansion of the lift service. Action items are secure additional sustainable funding for transit infrastructure and operations and explore the formation of a regional transportation authority. Granted, these are, priority 2 and 3. It could be argued that maybe these should be higher, given the recent conversations that have been had around, our 1% sales tax revenue not keeping up with the increases in the cost to operate the lift. But again, it's not meant to identify what that solution is. Just say this is an issue and it's a priority to address. And what partners do we need to work with to do that?
Yeah, I think you did a beautiful job with it. I think it turned out well.
Thank you.
And
Anything
it
you
is
want-
just a guiding document,
Yeah, it is.
you know,
Matt?
and
Yeah.
there was a good feedback from the community and citizens about where their concerns are. You could say no answers, but where what the town should prioritize in the future. So staff and boards in the future can take a look at that and see, well, hey, maybe some of it will validate decisions later for open space and trails.
When the priority list, as Garrett said, has just likely changed because we lost a good part of service out in Grand Park. So how do we, it went from half hour to hour long
Yeah.
times between buses out there,
Right,
the tough
yeah.
decision you guys made as a board. So, yeah, the west side of
Yeah.
Fraser, yeah. So, but to get specific, and it won't make me any friends up at the ski area, but Breckenridge gets a lot of their funding from a seat tax on lift tickets at Breckenridge from Vail Associates.
Yeah.
And that was not an easy conversation with Vail Associates, but in the end, that's where they get a lot of their transportation funds from. And those with historical knowledge here know that our rudimentary transportation system we had in the past was pretty much funded by the ski area.
Mhm.
And now they
Right.
fund the buses to the outlying lots and provide other support as well, but they need to be a partner in this, I believe. So, but those are tough questions that the board needs, the
And Winter Park
trustee.
listed on that,
What's that?
WPR. Winter Park Resort is listed as one of the
Yeah,
peop-
yeah.
entities to be working towards that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good.
Any other comments from the board?
Well, I guess I'm going to go back and relook at this document in light of the meeting tonight. Because one of the things that I would like to, going through it, I've been through it a couple of times, when we did the first round of, the draft that came out in the fall. But I guess one of the points Clark made was we're in competition with all these other cities in Grand County, even, not to mention other areas, the ski areas that we compete with. What makes us unique? What is the selling point for people to come here to Fraser instead of Grand Lake, Steamboat, whatever? I guess thinking about it, I'm not sure that came through strongly to me at the end of the day. Is what are our areas that we compete in better than others?
Well, but Bob, I think that, the priorities, the work list that we have here is how we build a community that does compete.
Right.
And I'm not sure, that we did add the mayor's message in there to give
Mhm.
the sales pitch,
Yeah.
which is important. But we can't sell a car that doesn't work. That Ford
Right.
didn't sell the Edsel very well at all. It
Right.
met all their expectations of what the market wanted, but it certainly didn't sell. So, but that's that's the goal of our work here and the work of the trustees is to build a community that people want to live in and people want to bring businesses to. So
I
I'm
think-
not sure you can add to a document to help with that. So
I think some of the photos in the document speak to why we're special.
I like the photos.
You
They
know,
were all
view of
a
buyers
good selection of
and
photos.
the view of buyers, the Continental Divide, and those. Do we have
What was
in the summer one? Is there a fun biking photo or trail hiking photo or something like that? In terms of a
now we got a new bike park.
Yeah.
That's special. Yeah.
Yeah. absolutely.
yeah.
But it hasn't been open enough to get good photos of, but it's a working document. Those can be added later,
Sure.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we can, because I think in terms of marketing, most people want to see nice photos. A lot of people, they don't
And
necessarily
a
want to,
lot of the people that are coming here to do activities.
right?
They want to mountain bike, they want to hike, they want to ski.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
They were-
Sledding.
But as Clark pointed out, what we're trying to attract are businesses, people want to make an investment in the
Right.
community. So when we have to have the visitors to do that, but at the heart of this, that's the heavy lift. You know, the figures in there, how we're losing children was a tough one.
Yeah, it's just because it's so expensive to live here and people
Yeah.
can't afford to buy homes anymore.
Yeah,
But that's beyond our control.
well, not really. I mean,
Well, they have a
that's
good
why we're
eff-
building this project.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
I know, but a
Oh.
lot of it, 2020 and that
Yeah.
jump in property values by 40%,
Yeah,
nobody saw it coming,
yeah.
so.
I think one
we
other
can.
thing I would add to Bob's point about what's the differentiator for Fraser, and also in light of the $250,000 budget for this project, I would argue that this downtown vision plan is really something that's above and beyond the typical scope of work for a municipal comprehensive plan. Really, what we got with this planning effort was a sub area downtown plan in conjunction with our
Yeah.
comprehensive plan update.
Right.
I think, you know, staff and you all and the board have been looking at this vision plan again for over a year now. It may be hard to remember a time where this didn't exist. And we were talking about changes to our zoning regulations in the Riverwalk Zone District in a more abstract way. And now we're at the point where we have this vision plan. The town is moving forward with the Clayton Court streetscape construction this summer, and Mountain Passenger Rail is starting up
Yeah.
in November. And I think the combination of those things helps make our shared vision for Clayton Court and downtown Fraser and activating the Fraser River really come to life through this plan.
But did that
So-
really stand out to you when you read this?
I think that's a
What
great
you
point.
just said
Yes.
is, well, I agree 100%. That's selling the vision of come here, invest in our community, open a restaurant,
Yeah.
have a business, do things like that. That builds the base of population that supports all the other stuff.
Sure.
But I guess I'm wondering now, is there a way that could be highlighted better in the plan?
I would say this comprehensive plan is nearly 200 pages long, and this plan document by itself likely will not achieve that condensed
Yeah.
message that I just communicated. But now with this plan, town staff and our excellent marketing and communications director can take these materials and create brochures or 2-pagers or social media posts or what have you to help sell and share that vision. So I think there are aspects of that plan or of that vision in this plan that speak to it, but I do agree that just the sheer size of it and because it is achieving multiple things through this document, I don't think it could do that by itself. And I think it would be a very light lift for town staff to take this plan and distill those types of things from it, if
Okay.
if that makes sense.
No, I think, we're trying to capture a moment in time with a planning document.
Yeah.
And every moment that goes by, we find something we want to add
It's
into it.
done.
Yeah.
Make it
Yeah.
better.
Yes.
But if
Yeah.
we got to
That's
get it
true.
working sometime, and the only way to get it working is to approve it.
I agree.
That sounds like.
Well, I'm sorry if you,
I
Okay.
I can attest to the amount of staff time from myself and Alan that has been taken up over the past 18 months. Certainly our consultant partners have led the way in this process, but
let's
when
get the
we
staff-
reach,
let's get the staff working
indeed, once we reach the finish line on this,
on implementing.
I feel like there will be a lot more time from staff to work on this implementation.
Okay, I agree.
I call for a motion.
And maybe before you call that motion, Andy, I did modify the resolution to add this highlighted language here. And I just want to confirm that this is appropriate for the planning commission to act on.
Recommends that the future land use map.
So remove
Oh,
it.
wait, it's not correct. It's a spelling typo there. Recommends that the future land use map to remove,
Thank you.
to remove Yeah. Okay, that the future land use map, remove the land designations in West Mountain area of Grand Park, on a reference to the 2005 park plan.
Okay,
Think that works?
So,
Before you do make a motion, you do need to close the public hearing.
yeah.
okay, do I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So moved. We could do one more.
All right, that's what we'll do. And your name again, please?
Lisa Steckler for the record. So I mean, like, why accuracy matters in these comprehensive plans is like, because again, we'll read out the zoning changes that we could have. There's development approvals, there's infrastructure stuff that happens, there's incorrect maps. They should not be adopted with incorrect maps, known factual errors in the report. They're missing infrastructure planning. In Colorado, a comprehensive plan is supposed to be the town's coordinated policy blueprint for growth, infrastructure, services, and finances. It's what future zoning, development approvals, and capital spending rely on. It doesn't plan for if it doesn't plan for schools, transportation funding, healthcare access, economic competition, and fiscal sustainability, or if it contains known errors, then it is not ready to be adopted. It doesn't have any of this in there. This ties directly to Colorado case law language and what a comprehensive plan is supposed to have in it. So I would say do not approve this plan as it is today.
Thank you. So we could add a condition to have this reviewed by the town attorney.
Certainly.
Okay, to see if
Yeah.
there's anything else that we need to.
And it
include
meets
in there.
a lot of statutory requirements for a town master plan, so.
Great.
I believe it does, but I'm not the town attorney. We have one.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and restate that motion, please.
Okay.
Well, we have to close public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have motion to close the public hearing, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Now we're ready for a motion if one is to be offered.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-0102, approving and certifying the Fraser Ford Comprehensive Plan with the addition of,
What's the first condition, please?
Oh, this is standard language that the town staff copied over from the resolution that the planning commission passed in 2010 for that comprehensive plan, just referencing applicable state statutes regarding the authority of the town to implement and adopt this plan.
And that helps give the town attorney guidance, so.
Yeah.
all right,
So as well as these two conditions here that have been added.
yes, that we just reviewed. Okay,
So the motion with three conditions,
3 conditions.
okay? We have a second, or
Second.
you okay, Bob?
So, well, just a question. What happens if we approve this and the town attorney comes back and says, oh, we're missing this, we're missing that. What happens next?
So our
Then it doesn't go to
approval is a recommendation to the board.
Okay,
Doesn't really have any force and effect other than a recommendation to the board of trustees, so.
yeah, okay. All right, so if the attorney finds some big problems with it,
Mhm.
then basically it gets to the board of trustees and that gets pointed out to them.
Yes.
Okay, I can live with that.
That's likely, and I would say worst case scenario, it comes back here for an additional public hearing, but
Yeah,
I think that's unlikely.
Yeah.
But
The
that
condition is
if,
there to cover that.
if we absolutely need to do that, we can do that.
okay.
Okay, motion's on the floor. Call for a vote. Should we go individually? Margaret,
Aye. Katie's, yeah, I,
Aye.
No, aye. Thank you.
okay, we can move ahead.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Nora.
Thank you, Nora. And thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And your
your
town staff is
time.
amazing.
Awesome, I agree.
Okay, any other business from
Have a good
board
night.
members? I mean, the business is that, hopefully this gives us a lot of work in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And again, I guess we're on other business.
Yes.
So just again, for the commission and the public, Joy McCoy resigned as of a couple weeks ago. I just wanted to, I know she's not here or online, but thank her for her service. I
Yes.
believe she was originally appointed to fill a vacant seat, and she filled out that term and was reappointed by Mayor Sirkvenik in 2024. And she really served admirably on this commission and always had a great perspective and unique insight, especially with regards to accessibility issues and ensuring that our new development in Fraser thinks through accessibility, compliance, and those challenges. So she will be missed on this commission, and staff certainly looks forward to having that vacant seat filled by the mayor soon. So,
okay, yes, thank you
I
for
wanna-
recognizing Joy. She did a good job for us.
I sure want to echo
Yeah.
those comments. She was a very valuable board member.
Yeah. She was fun to work with.
Yeah.
I guess I have something I'd like to say for the record.
Sure.
Uh, I recently sold my house here, but turned around and downsized and bought a smaller property. So I used to live in Grand Park on Meadow Trail.
Mhm.
I now still live in the Grand Park community, but I'm in a condo in Elk Creek.
Okay,
So
Still in the town limits.
I'm still in the town limits. I just
Yay.
wanted to go on the record as saying, because I think Peggy saw me going into the title company on the day we closed on our house on Meadow Trail. And so the next day I got a call from Garrett wanting to know if I was still in the town limits.
good.
Yeah, no, on a similar note, I want to report for the record that my house has gone past the remediation and demolition stage. We have rough and electrical passed, and we're rebuilding that house from the studs out. And we found two 1918 newspapers in the attic.
Wow.
It was the Fraser Valley's original ranger station, Forest Service district ranger station. So we're paying homage to its structure, but we're trying to prop it up in several places that it needs propped up. So anyway, I'm working as diligently as I can, because if I don't work diligently, the insurance company will make me start paying rent out there in Innsbruck, and I really don't want to. So I'll
Okay.
move back as quickly as I can.
Yeah, great, thank you.
I have one other thing. So I was driving down 40 the other day and I noticed some kids had scraped off and turned one of the ponds into a ice hockey rink. What would it take to turn one of the ponds into a skating rink that would draw people from Winter Park and everywhere, like a nighttime skating rink out in the open? I mean, they've already done it on one pond up there just by scraping it. But what if you made it like another amenity, like the bike park,
Right.
except it's a big skating rink out there?
I like that.
Would it be great?
It would
And
be.
you could put food trucks out
Well,
there.
and not only that, but if you think about it, they play ice hockey down at the rec fields. Ever so often, at one of I forget who does it, Pittsburgh or somebody, they freeze over the field, they flood the field, freeze over, and they bring everybody into the stadium for the Canadians and the US to play hockey at the football field. But what if you had some hockey games come play in the open air?
Yeah, I guess I was thinking of it. Well, we've spent a bunch of money on the bike park
Right.
and it's open during summer, but you've got a pond out there that's frozen all winter long.
Right.
And it's just not really being used. And you could scrape it off and you could really turn it into a draw
Yeah.
to bring people from Winter Park and all over. to
Now that
come
we've
here.
got restroom facilities there.
that pond or Winter Park West, or
Yes,
it's one of the water districts owns it.
Warner Park, Water Sand District number 2 does own the 2 bigger ponds. Town of Fraser does own the 2 smaller ponds closer to Safeway.
That's the
line-
one.
What we call the line.
Closest one to Safeway, and then you'd
That-
have
yeah.
Starbucks there, you could go get
Right,
coffee, while your
right.
kids all stay.
So
And
that,
you know, they
As
do
long as it
fishing.
stays
They do-
cold enough.
They
huh,
do
Clark?
fishing tournaments on those lines
could make
ponds.
snow.
Summertime, they have
Okay.
fishing and yeah, I think that's a great idea.
well, let's bounce this off.
Just received a special event permit request application to do that exact thing. So we will be coming before the staff for a conversation very soon.
Yeah, and then maybe the staff could test safety too and post this when it's not safe anymore, so. Not
was
very
just a-
deep, but deep enough.
Just seems like, what a great amenity
Yeah,
that would
true.
be. Another
Well,
town
and
gathering
we do
spot.
the fire and ice there
Yeah.
in the winter, and that's always a pretty good draw.
Okay, great ideas.
So just thought I'd
Okay.
bring it up because
Any other business or future agenda items?
nope.
Next meeting is 25th.
yes, February 25th.
And I won't be here, Bob, if you could.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll be glad to.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me
I
know.
gotta go help the author of Doc Susie celebrate her 90th birthday in Tucson, so
Really?
Virginia Cornell, yep, my aunt.
Oh, I would also like to say that I recently read an article in the Sky High News, and I had no idea that Katie Souls and Ingrid Carlstrom
Or that old.
were the local heroes of Mary
The
Jane.
Mary Jane,
Way
yeah.
back when.
Yeah.
But it's not the
Pretty
Mary
fun.
Jane Mountain. Where did that ever come from?
Not right.
It's just the Mary, it's just the Jane.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks,
That was
everybody.
fun.
Call for adjournment.
So
Some of-
moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks. Thanks
Thank
for all
you
your
all for
comments
coming.
tonight.